Welcome to Quick Conversations with Karen and Carrie. Karen Shier here. I empower women to live and work with passion.
Carrie Wooden here. I empower women to live and work with joy.
So let's get this conversation started.
And today's topic is living in abundance.
So what do we mean by living in abundance?
Well, for me, I believe living in abundance is being able to see the abundance in life, to make the best use of your time and, notice that there is an abundance of everything around us, an abundance of not only the material things, but also the energy. There's an abundance of joy. There's an abundance of love and passion. I mean, what do you think about that?
I think when I think about it, I guess my perspective is, it's a choice. It's a perspective. It's something that we choose. It's kind of that state of being inside of you. It does mean different things to different people. Some people think abundance means, well, I have that car, or I make a lot of money, or I have, this, that, or the other thing. And I think it just kind of goes way beyond that. It's really, to me, it's about having an abundance mindset, whether you receive that thing or not, whether that thing comes into your life or not. You're maintaining the state, whether you have it or not. I think it's one of those things that, it can be activated in the moment, and it's simple. If you think and feel abundant, you will be abundant.
Well, and with abundance, if you're living in abundance, then you're not missing all the opportunities. You see everything, as plentiful, and the opportunities then expand, and you get to learn new things. It's always a growth. Everything's always growing.
It is. Well, and especially for both of us, we both tend to be lifelong learners. We're learning new stuff every day. And, think about the abundance of information that has come into us over the last couple of years that we've known each other. And, it's just that sense of gratefulness, I think.
Yeah, gratefulness and finding the positive in everything. I mean, there's been lots of craziness in my world, and I've been able to, you find the positive, and for some people that is so hard, and they end up going from, living in abundance and everything when something major happens to living in lack, and so, I mean, how does that show up in your world?
Well, I think that, it's so many things. For me, it's knowing in every moment that it's okay. In this moment right now, everything in my life is fine, right? Mm-hmm. And in this moment, everything is fine. All is well.
Right now.
If I think about it, I'm sitting here, I've got a roof over my head. I've got birds singing outside the windows. I've got squirrels that are climbing up my screens and driving me crazy. But I've got, so I've got we've got older vehicles. They've got a lot of miles on it, but they're paid for, and I don't have any interest in going out and getting a new car payment for sure. I think it's those everyday things. It's appreciating, I've got a really good relationship with a very handsome hubby, and I got a good relationship with my daughter, and she's doing some great things in the world and finding her way. And, it's that circle of close friends, even if you don't get to see them very often, it's kind of like you meet each other and pick back up where you left off. When life happens and, we get thrown a curveball, it's knowing that stuff there, those constants are there. And I think that's what it kind of means to me in an everyday sort of way.
Well, and I agree with you. I mean, I have 11 children, and to see them, living their best life or doing the best they can, it's like, that's abundance to me, and having that relationship, because when my kids were teenagers, they didn't like me much. And I think that means I was doing my job right. But now it's like they call every day and, Mom, did you see, I did this, and, oh, your grandkids are doing this. But I can also see when they're not living in abundance, and they're not focusing on the positive, right? And trying to to teach them why it is important to
Mhm.
live abundance and important to focus on what is going right. I mean, do you have that situation with your friends and family that you've noticed?
Sure. I mean, I think relationships with moms and daughters for sure are very special and very unique, right? And there was a time where Hannah and me, our relationship was a little bit of a challenge, and she'll probably tell you the same thing. And now, it's fun because now, she's just coming of age, she's coming in her own, and she calls me for advice. She's, how do I handle this situation, Mom? And what should I say? What should I do? And to see them blossom and grow like that, just like you said, you've done something right when your kids are coming to you for advice, right? And I find that really abundant.
Yeah, I love when my older daughter, calls me, and she's had some hard times. I mean, her fiance died. Now she's, a single mom of 5 little boys. Little boys. That is abundant amount of energy in the house. And but to see her just really embracing that really makes me happy. Now, my youngest daughter seriously has abundance of drama. So I'm really trying to work with her on learning to find the positive, that we don't need to live in the drama. We don't need to be upset all the time. And, it's like trying to get her to feel into abundance. This is what it feels like to be abundant. This, everything kind of goes into the, goes with the flow. And yeah, an 8-year-old, that is an abundance of opportunities for me to grow and find joy, for sure.
Yeah.
But how do you teach them, or how do you even remain in that feeling of abundance when the world around us is chaotic?
I think for me it's really about not attaching abundance to that thing you want, and I guess what I mean, instead of I can feel abundant without that material thing, or it's not looking at the world as, I'll feel abundant when X happens, or when I get this, or when I get that. It's like, no, I can feel abundant right now just looking around me and thinking about those things, and I guess back to your thoughts about Maddie, it's looking at that and thinking back to, gosh, I wish I would have known then what I know now. I probably could have coped better, because those are hard years. Those teenage years and those preteen years are really tough, I think, especially for girls. Yeah. So, being the women we are now, being able to go back and maybe have those conversations with your kids and your grandkids and whomever, to give them some coping skills. I think that's just, thank goodness, really
for the
important.
Things we've learned, right? Because duct tape and baling wire doesn't fix that anymore.
No.
But it is nice to have that knowledge that we can call in abundance, or any positive feeling. Well, you can call in the negative feelings too, but why would we want to? And just feel it. I mean, just looking in nature. I mean, nature is abundant. I'm not going to go out and count pine needles, even though I have sent my children out to. You count all those pine needles, and you come back in and tell me how you're feeling about that. So yes, for sure. So how do you, like, we all get stuck, like life happens, we get stuck and we start feeling the lack, how do we, reactivate that abundance? I mean, what tools or processes have you found that really can kick you back into abundance?
Yeah, well, and I think just to expand on what you said, I mean, there's always going to be strife. There's always going to be conditions in the world. There's always going to be things that pull at us and try to keep us back in lack a bit, But for me, I think having the awareness and the thought process and the knowledge now that we can choose how we react to those things, right? And I can also choose in how what to do when I feel stuck or in lack. So for me, it's really just remembering, it's just a shift in perspective. and most of us don't do that, right? Most of us get kind of pulled into the lack and pulled into the negativity, or until we learn that we can just choose that. We don't have to listen to that. We don't have to be drawn in. I think for me, one of the things Chris and I really like to do is we love to hike. We love hiking. We love Sedona. That's like our favorite place we want to go. And so just being out in nature and connecting and looking around you, and again, looking at the birds and looking at what you have and looking at those relationships, that will pull me back in. Journaling helps me. When I'm feeling down and out, I'll start to journal about it, and usually learn a lot of things about myself and such. But so what do you do? What do you do when you're feeling lack?
When I'm feeling lack, I've made it a game to find positive. Just like when our whole family got sick, and I take care of my mother-in-law, and she's 92 this year, dementia, that has its challenges, but I couldn't smell anymore. Oh boy, howdy, that was joyful. I just love the fact I couldn't smell anymore. But on those day-to-day things, the process that we learned in the QSCA, that wouldn't it be nice if it rained? Wouldn't it be nice, just trying to find things, wouldn't it be nice? And usually that transforms into just being really grateful for the things I do have, the things that I love, that, even the things that challenge me, like the 8-year-old, boy, howdy, does she challenge me. But finding that the gratitude really is key to living that abundant life, to living with joy, to living with passion. I really honestly think gratitude is the easy key. Just unlock the ding door.
Absolutely. And I love that process. It's just so much fun. That's a really great process to use for kids too. Hey, when they're having a meltdown,
that would be Maddie.
yeah. When they're, let's shift our focus. What is it you want? And then let's build on that and get them to make it a game. And pretty soon they're giggling and laughing. So I love that process too. It's awesome. So tell me, Carrie, can you feel lack and abundance at the same time?
No, I don't. I personally don't think you can. I mean, there can be lack in your life, but you can really only focus on one thing at a time. At least that's what I found. If I focus on anything positive, it promotes more positive. The more you focus on it, the more it expands. And so, even when you get in those lack moments, when you're in lack, then you're definitely, you're way off the scale to abundance. But once you just turn it, like with the wouldn't it be nice if, or just finding gratitude or in the moment, that totally shifts, and then you're back in abundance. Whether you stay there or not, I would prefer staying there. I like it there much better than the lack and the grumpiness that is lack, for sure. Absolutely. What about you?
Well, it's kind of along, making it a game, like you mentioned before. Look at that little segment of time in front of you when you're in that lack state. And how can I make this more fun? How can I go into this meeting, for instance? It's not a meeting I want to go to, but how can I make it fun? Well, I can about, my colleagues around me. I can think about, oh, cool, they got donuts, whatever it is. You pick out the things to be grateful for, and make your meeting or whatever you're doing so much more fun, and it makes you look forward to it. And if you get in the practice of thinking about that as you go along through your day and making it a game, is how can I make this fun? How can I look at this differently? Let's talk a little bit about, we both went through the QSCA and we learned about Abraham Hicks. We learned about, the emotional guidance scale, and there's lack on one end and scarcity on one end, and you think about it as a whole. So we've got lack and scarcity on one end, and we have abundance and joy and bliss and all those things on the other end. And again, you, like you said, you can't feel them both at the same time. You're not going to feel things, on the lack side, like, let's see, fear and grief and depression, at the same time that you feel bliss and joy and passion, right? So it's really a choice. I can choose to be here, or I can choose to get myself closer to this end of the scale.
Yeah, and who wouldn't want to do that?
Exactly.
And even in life, like where you're talking about the grief and stuff like that, the interesting thing I find out about that I've learned about joy is even in the grief, like when my kids' father died, there's that grief, but the joy was still there. I think joy is one of those that just is the only thing you can feel alongside any other extreme, like grief is an extreme emotion. But when you can focus, when you can bring in that joy a little bit more, like the time you have to spend with them, the fact that all these good things, death isn't happy at all, but the good memories and stuff, and then it heals that grief. It brings you up, it brings your vibration up more, which that's what we want to do.
Well, and that's what helps you, like just talking about that scale, that's what helps you move. The awareness and the ability to think about the joyful things helps you move away from that grief, right?
Yeah,
so the more you can do about that, or the more of those kinds of things you can do, will just keep you in that state easily. And
so why do you think it's so hard for some to stay living in abundance?
I think it goes back to not having that awareness that it's a choice. It's a personal choice, and how we decide to feel. It is, again, it's back to that lack mindset of I'll be happy when this happens, or when this happens. Really, it's just a simple change in perspective. You can choose to be abundant in the moment right now, at this moment, and this next moment, and this next moment. I can. Exactly. And that one.
And the one over there. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. I mean, what could be more fun? We're sitting here having a conversation that's fun, and we're having some banter back and forth, and, and hopefully this is helpful to anyone who watches. But, it's really, again, I think just back to that shifting our perspective. It's really all it is. It's really simple. It's just focusing and practicing. It does take practice.
And I think people will see it is simple, but sometimes it's not easy,
right?
Right. But and there's so many, if you choose abundance, then you have all these opportunities, you have the good feelings, things fall into place. But if you focus on the lack, not living in abundance, what does that cost some people? I have a cousin that is all about lack. Like, she has to have drama in her life all the time, and she's missed so many opportunities, great opportunities, job opportunities, relationship opportunities, and she's just miserable all the time, and she's just all caught up in it, and she thrives off of it. It's like she just really wants it, but she's not getting anywhere. She's not enjoying life. It's like she says, life's just passing me by. All my friends, they have this and that and whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, what's the difference? It's like, but that's also a choice to be aware, and right. Just the living in lack is so destructive to not only her, not only the people that live that way, but the people that they touch, right. Their surrounding groups. So,
well, and that's a great example of just being stuck in your stuff, right? You're stuck in that struggle and that worry and that fear, and you don't have to be.
No, because life's fun.
Yeah, it's as fun as you want to make it. That's right. That's right.
Fun and abundant.
So, what do you feel like is the negative effect of not living abundantly?
I think the lack, just that mentality is just, it feeds into worry and fear and stress, and it affects your health, it affects your relationships, it affects how you show up in the world. That's not something I want. That's why I try to refocus and find those opportunities to find the positive, the half full, half empty glass. It's like, just go to the cabinet and get a smaller glass, dude. And pour it in, then it's full, or turn on the tap, fill it up with more water type thing. Yeah. I mean, it just, who would want to live that?
Right.
It's,
well, you're stuck in the past, right? You think that whatever happened to you in the past is either going to continue happening or follow you into the future, and you can't change your past, but you can change your mind, and you can change your perception, and you can
change that programming you grew up with.
Yes, absolutely. A lot of people tend to be keeping themselves in like worst case scenario thinking, right? When if you really think about it, how often has worst case scenario ever really happened? In most experiences, right?
Right.
I was a worrier. I was that person. I worried about stuff. I worried about money. I worried about this. I worried about that, right? And your worst case scenario thing rarely ever happened.
Right.
Life rarely sent that to you. So,
well, because the universe is conspiring for you, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, it's conspiring for you. It's giving you what you need, and what you want if you focus on what you want. So, I mean, we're all still alive. We've survived up to this point.
Absolutely. And I guess my question is, what if you change your perspective and only expect that good things are going to come your way? How would thinking in that manner or in that way affect abundance for people?
I think it would I think that would change the world, seriously. Like, if everybody even just tried half the time to think in abundance. I mean, right in my community, there's so much stuck energy, for sure. Everybody's living in the past, because it's such a small community. It's like, oh, well, that person, when they were a teenager, I'm like, well, they're 55 years old now. Why are you holding that against them? It's like, let's move on. Let's get out of that, because that's not who they are. I'm not the same person I was 5 minutes ago, right, or a minute ago, or now I'm different again, type thing. And yeah, just people, if they would just move out of that lack, out of that past thinking, I think it would really change a lot of lives. It's kind of like that saying, the people that feel appreciated do more than they're expected. I think it's reworded somewhere different, but that's the general gist. I think people who think abundantly, move into that abundance, would do more and progress more and just enjoy life more. And isn't that what we're here for? Is to have experiences and enjoy it.
Well, I think too, you tend, if you're of that mindset, you tend to let things roll off you easier. You don't pull them in and you don't make them yours. You realize that stuff is that other person's stuff, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. So, I think you cope better when you have a different perspective.
Now, how have you changed? I mean, have you had moments in time where you were stuck in the past, and how did you change that for yourself?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, oops.
Yep. There's been lots, there's been lots of major life events there. I'll go back to, and you heard some of my story too, but I was in a job for a long period of time, and great company, and they were good to me, and I did a lot for the company, no qualms there. But my job, as I grew in my job and as I grew up the ladder and whatnot, I lost the connection to people. I was in human resources, right? So you want to help people. That's why you go into HR. But as my job progressed, and I went up the ladder over different jobs and over the years and whatnot, I just found myself disconnected. I wasn't helping the people I wanted to help in the way I wanted to help them. Coaching in HR is different than coaching in in what we're doing, the kinds of things we're doing. And I just became really disenchanted. I became really angry. And then I got stuck in that stuff. I just got so stuck. I was like beside myself. And I think what helped me was, getting my own coaches and getting involved in our QSCA groups and our community. And, I was afraid to even think of the possibility of changing jobs. First of all, I didn't want to stay in HR. I didn't want to start over again. And I knew I wanted to do something else, but I was a little afraid to, for many reasons and for many other experiences. But I had to start really working on myself and working on that perspective. And one of the things that Christy Whitman and another coach had said to me, which kind of hit me between the eyes, was, what is staying in that job costing you? And it was like, such a simple question, but I'm going, oh my gosh, you're right. It is. It's costing me my health, and it's costing me, my relationships, and I'm being short with people, and I'm not loving what I'm doing. So, I guess long way of saying that spurred the action for me to take the steps I needed to do something else and jump into something else and start being aware and changing my perspective. And it wasn't the job, it wasn't the place, it was my perception of what I was doing. Right. So long-winded answer there, but how about you?
That's good.
I'll pitch that question right back to you.
Yeah, so, thanks. See how you are? Yeah, I've definitely had those moments. I mean, I've been married and divorced and dealt with the death of a spouse and, having tons of kids and major moves. And, I've had a couple soap opera years, and it really is that it's finding those people that you resonate with, that you're like, I want to be like that. I don't want to be stuck anymore. And I think everybody has to come to that point where they realize, this isn't working for me anymore. It's like, what happened to the happy me, the joyful me that, might've been when I was 5, blowing bubbles and chasing bugs, but it came to a point where I'd forgotten how to dream for myself. I was over giving to everybody else, trying to make sure everybody else was taken care of and everybody else was happy, that I forgot, like, wait a minute, me, and it wasn't until, excuse me, I was on a plane and they do that whole thing, when the oxygen mask comes down, you have to, give it to yourself or you can't help anybody else. Exactly. And that was really that aha moment that, like, oh my gosh, what have I been doing? Why have I not been being 100% there so I could be 100% there? Exactly. The whole saying, don't give from the cup, give from the saucer. And hopefully you're not making a mess all over the table, because I don't want to clean that mess up. But, besides that, that's what paper towels are for. But just really learning to bring the abundance of self-love to myself, to bring the abundance of joy, feeling that, finding those, even if it's just those little moments, especially when you're stuck in your mess, sometimes it's hard to see from a different perspective, but really surrounding myself with like-minded people, those that I wanted to aspire to be like, and then just really coming down to turning inside and saying, who do I want to be? Who do I want to show up as? And I want to enjoy life. I want to laugh and have fun. And I want that for other people. And that's why I absolutely love coaching, is because I get to help other people reclaim the joy that they've misplaced somewhere. I mean, it might be under the car seat, or under the bed. Exactly. Yeah. Wherever they left those keys, the place. So yeah, that's for me. It's like just really adjusting the small things one step at a time. It doesn't have to be anything major. And it does make a huge difference.
Well, and it's classic. I mean, we're women, right? We're givers. Most of us take care of everybody else before ourselves, So yeah, I hear you on that one. I hear you.
Yeah. I mean, and that's one reason I love that we're doing these videos. So we
Mhm.
can share and get the message out that, we're all human and there is support and there is
Mhm.
ways to live with passion and to live with joy every day.
Right. Well, and also to be kind and compassionate to yourself
Oh,
first,
definitely.
you know.
Yeah. Eat the
And
cheesecake if you want to. Yeah.
right. Well, and that's a topic for a whole nother day. We could
Yeah,
we
that's
could go
it
on for
too.
that one. So,
Yes,
well,
definitely.
tell me, does abundance equal empowerment in your perspective?
Yes, I believe abundance does equal empowerment because when you're living in abundance, all those different opportunities open up for you. If you're
Mhm.
closed down and you're not seeing past yourself, you're not seeing past the limiting beliefs, the limits of your situation. I mean, I know people that are very limited in situations that are physically disabled and whatever, but
Mhm.
because they live in that abundance mindset, tons of opportunities. They're doing great things, they're owning their own business, they're doing, the hobbies that they love and sharing and empowering other people. So I believe when we are abundant, when we do believe that the universe is abundant and it's abundant for everybody, there's no limit, there's no, oh no, you can only have so much. It's abundant. Then you get to show up in the world as your best self.
Absolutely. And things just start happening. Opportunities just start happening.
Falling
And
in your lap.
exactly. I mean, when women get together, great things happen, right?
Yes, definitely.
Um, so how do we change? We've talked about this a little bit, but again, let's go back to if you're not feeling really abundant or you're not quite sure, how do we change that for ourselves?
I think awareness is key. If you're not aware you've allowed yourself to live in lack, if you're not catching yourself, it's like it's catching yourself in the moment when you aren't feeling abundant and going, wait a minute, I don't want this. What I do want is positivity, joy, abundance, empowerment. It's awareness is what will allow you to take those different steps, to take and use the
Mhm.
tools, to take the processes, whether it's meditation or the wouldn't it be nice if, or just going out and hiking, getting out in nature and reconnecting with what you want. I mean, what are your
Absolutely.
thoughts on that?
Well, and I think we're just remembering we're all human. It's not going to happen overnight. I'm not going to say right this second, I'm abundant.
I'm
I
a
mean, it does take a little bit of work, but it's kind of one of those things, that the more you practice it, it's just going to come naturally.
yes.
And you'll be pulled back. Again, we're human. We'll be pulled back.
There's
It's just
always
knowing,
contrast.
yeah, it's knowing, it's having that awareness to go, oh, yep, I'm not feeling really good this minute. So what's going on here? And how do I want to feel? Like you said, I want to feel joyful and blissful and whatever. And it's doing what you can to get back to that space. So
Definitely. I mean, we're human. We're not aliens. We
yeah,
might be aliens, but we don't know it.
that's
So,
true.
yeah, who knows?
That's true. So what do you think? I think that's good for now. I think we kind of
Yeah,
beat it up a little bit.
I think we've covered quite a bit, quite
Awesome.
a good amount of information to share with our viewers for sure.
Awesome. Well, and back to our viewers, we'd really like to know what you think. What's holding you back from living a consistent, abundant life? And what habits do you practice that allow you to live in more abundance? We'd love it if you'd share your thoughts and comments, in the chat and go from there. And what we'd like to do is invite you to join in the conversation and just put hashtag living in abundance now below. Let's get the conversation started. Each of our Facebook groups are meant to be a safe place for our women friends and to learn and share joyful things in the meaningful way without fear of any bashing or negativity. That's what we want these groups to be. So let's support each other and have some giggles.
Joy is where it's at.
Absolutely. So that's all for now.
Thanks
We'll
for
see you
watching,
next
everybody.
time.
Yes.
And we'll see you next time on Quick Conversations with Karen and Carrie. Thanks so much for tuning in today.
Have a great day,
We'll see
everybody.
ya.